What's up, guys? Hey, this is Christian Brindle with Six Figure Medicare Agent. Hope this video finds you doing well. And today I'm going to explain how you can make $1,000 a day as a Medicare insurance agent. Let's get right into this video. I'm of course talking about new commissions only. We're not going to talk about renewals in this aspect. Making $1,000 a day as a Medicare agent is not as hard as you might think. I've done it many times over the course of my career. So basically, we got to look at the facts. If you're selling 2 applications to someone that's new to Medicare, aging in, turning 65, and you sell them 2 Medicare Advantage plans and they're new to Medicare, remember, your new to Medicare commissions for Medicare Advantage plans are $510. So $510 is your new to Medicare Advantage commission. So to make $1,000 a day, if you're selling in that type of scenario, you only got to sell 2 of those. And you will exceed your $1,000 a day target. You'll actually be a little bit over. You'll be at $1,020. So boom, pretty easy. But let's say you're not selling Medicare Advantage plans. Let's say you're selling Medicare Advantage plans, but they're not new to Medicare. Let's say you're doing some kind of SEP. Let's say you're working with people that, are able to use the FEMA code, and they're able, due to the coronavirus, and they're able to change plans due to that aspect. Well, what's the half commission on Medicare Advantage sales? It's $255 per policy, right? So in that aspect, you have to sell 4 of those per day. It's all about doing the numbers, guys, and then you basically come out to the exact same amount, but you have to sell a few more policies to get there. Now, the other aspect that you got to be looking at this is let's say you're selling some kind of cross-selling product, like a dental vision hearing plan or a cancer plan or a hospital indemnity plan, whatever it might be. Depending on the product, you might make month to month, depending on how you're contracted. You might make advanced commission for 9 months, 12 months. It kind of just depends. But let's just use for the example, let's say you make on average $120 per ancillary sale you make, just roughly, just for the sake of example. Well, if you're selling those ancillary products with a Medicare Advantage plan, you're then at $255 per sale, but you're tacking on, just for the sake of example, this is going to vary depending on what you sell, but let's say you make $120 on top of that for an ancillary product. Maybe it's a dental vision hearing plan. Maybe it's a cancer plan. Maybe it's a hospital indemnity plan. It doesn't really matter in that aspect, but when you break that down, you're raising your cost you're raising your profit per client, in a sense. And these are policies that people are going to go out and buy anyway, with or without you. This is something you got to understand. You basically just bring it up to them, see if they want it, and you go from there. You're going to just basically fill in the needs that they have. And ancillary products are a great way to bundle together and fill in gaps and holes in terms of Medicare Advantage plans. So when you're doing this, you're now looking at $375 per client instead of the $255 flat. So if you're doing that and you're at, let's say, $375 per client instead of the $255, then we got a little bit more of an interesting statistic here. Is 2 policies enough to crack your $1,000 a day target? Probably not, but 3 would be. 3 would be, would it not? And that would bring it out to be $1,025 if my math is right, if the math in my head is right. Don't crucify me if I'm not wrong. My profession is not a mathematician, but I believe that's right. I believe that's right in my head. But then you break it down to where you only have to make, bring on 3 new clients instead of 4 if they're not new to Medicare. Now let's say you're selling Medicare supplement plans, right? Medicare supplement plans. A lot of this is going to depend on, precisely where you're selling, what your commission rate is, what contract you have, but usually people are going to be around 20% street level in most cases for Medicare supplements. If you're selling in a place like Washington, probably not so much. It might be more like 15%. So maybe 13%, depending on the insurance company. But let's just say, for example, you're at 20% street level. The other thing is going to depend on how much the premiums are for the Medicare supplements in your particular market. But let's just say, for the sake of example, we're dealing with let's say we're dealing with a $100 a month Medicare supplement plan. Most markets it probably be a little more, but let's just use this as an example, if you will. Now, this is also going to depend on if you're set up for advanced with Medicare supplements or if you're set up on month to month. Medicare supplement companies don't automatically advance you unless you're contracted that way. Medicare Advantage companies will automatically advance your commission for the whole year, typically. Medicare supplement companies, not so much. So this is also going to depend on how you're contracted and how you're set up. But let's take the assumption that you are indeed set up to advance. If you're selling Medicare supplements typically for Humana or United Healthcare, they're usually going to advance you typically in some form or fashion. But if you're selling Mutual of Omaha or Aetna or someone like that, unless you're specifically set up to be advanced, you're probably not going to be advanced. You're going to get 1 month at a time as earned. So it depends on how you're contracted, and that's a conversation you can have with your upline. You can look at your contracts and that kind of stuff and go from there. Me, myself, I'm typically set up month to month on as many Medicare supplement companies as I can be. I don't like to deal with chargebacks. I like to see the renewals coming every month. You kind of get my point. That's just my preference. Doesn't mean you have to do it that way. But let's say your street level commission is 20%. On a Medicare supplement, you are making $20 a month, but if you're set up to advance, you're making $240 for the year. $240. That's not too bad, right? But let's say you're selling a drug plan with it. Now, this is also going to depend on if they're new to Medicare, not new to Medicare. Let's say they are new to Medicare. I believe the drug commission for this year is $75, I think. Somewhere in there. So you're always going to be selling a drug plan with a med sup. 999 times out of 1,000. You should be, anyway. They just come as a package deal. Now, if you're selling dental, vision, hearing on top of it, that's a story for another day, which you can do, not to say that you can't do. But what you're going to be looking at with the drug plan and the med sup factored in together is you're going to be looking at $315 per client if you're selling the drug plan and they're new to Medicare and all that stuff. So basically, in that aspect, what are we looking at? How many apps do you need? How many people do you need to write in this type of scenario if you're making, let's say, $315 per application? Now, keep in mind, you probably are going to make more because a lot of markets have higher med sup premiums than just that. So this is just just for the sake of example. It kind of depends on what you're selling, where you're selling, all that stuff. But let's say you are making $315. That's probably going to be the minimum if you're selling a drug plan and they are new to Medicare. So how many do you have to write in order to get there? Well, is 3 enough? Let's find out. Three is $945, so it's not quite enough. You need to be probably selling 4 in this type of scenario to crack that number. Although you're almost cracking it by just selling 3. But in order to really get over the hump of that $1,000 mark, you have to be selling a little bit more. And that would bring us up to $1,260 if you can sell 4. So you're a little bit over. It's always better to be over than under, $1,260. So a lot of it, guys, is dependent on what you're selling, but at the end of the day, it's all about doing the numbers, cracking down the numbers, doing the math, figuring out how many do I have to sell. Then the next thing you have to do is figure out how many people do I need to get in front of to sell this many people. A lot of that depends on your specific closing ratio. Depends on what kind of leads you're working, how warm are they, how cold are they. I usually tell people if it's a cold lead, if it's somebody that you never had any experience with before, I usually tell people to try to schedule 2 to 3 times as many appointments as you expect to get sales. So if you're trying to sell 3 or 4 apps, you probably want to get anywhere between 6 to 12, maybe more, appointments for that day and talk to that many people in that day to walk away with your $1,000 day. Anyway, guys, I hope you guys enjoyed this video. If you did, do me a favor. Drop a like down in the like section. Comment on what you'd like to see me talk about on future videos, and subscribe for future six-figure Medicare agent content. Take care.